Hey y'all, it is Candy, and today I am cooking beef cheek. Now some of y'all may have heard me talk about beef cheek before and how wonderfully delicious it is, and it is so good. I have not changed my mind. It is one of my most favorite meals on the carnivore diet. It is delicious and fatty, and I am so excited that I'm going to eat it today. So if you guys have ever heard of beef cheek and are grossed out or disgusted or think, heck no, I would never know what to do with beef cheek, I'm right there with you. I used to think the same thing. I always kind of wanted to try it, and I was really scared, and I heard that it was good, and one day I bought it, and then it just sat in my fridge forever until it was almost at the best used by date, and then I decided I just got to bite the bullet and do it. And then once I cooked it, I could not believe it took me so long to cook it. It was delicious. So I'm going to show you how I do it and what my favorite way is. And it is probably the easiest way. All I do is I open it up and throw it in my crock pot. So this is what we're going to do. I get this at Sam's Club, and it is $4.78 a pound. And yes, it has gone up in price just the same as everything else. So this is how I prepare it. So I just cut it open, and let me show you what it looks like before I throw it in my crock pot so you can see. It is kind of weird looking. It's got a lot of fat in it, so you kind of never know. Some packages have a lot more fat than others. You never really know what you're going to get. I don't take it apart really, but I'm going to show you guys. So there is a lot of fat. You never know if you're going to get more fat or more meat. I do not separate it until after I cook it because I want all that fatty goodness to get inside all the meat. So you can see there is a lot of fat, and I do not eat the fat once it gets done. The meat that's in here is going to have a lot of fat inside of it. You see all that marbling? That's what makes it so delicious. It is so good. Once this gets cooked in the crock pot and the fat, I separate the fat and the meat. I do have a freezer bag in the freezer full of beef cheek fat. I don't really know what I'm going to do with it. I thought maybe I'd grind it up with a roast and make really fatty hamburger. So I don't really know what I'm going to do with it. Most of the time I throw it away. I know that's a travesty, but it's a lot of fat. But the rest of the meat that's in here is so worth it to me. So I'll show you from beginning to end what I do with it. Normally I don't open it up and play with it like I'm doing right now, but I wanted to show you guys what it looks like so your guys aren't intimidated. Normally I just open it up, throw it in a crock pot, throw some water on it, and that's it. But this is what it looks like. Very marbled meat, full of fat. It is magically delicious, better than Lucky Charms. I'm telling you, so good, so good. So I just throw this in the crock pot. And there's no science to it. I'm just going to throw some water. And let me tell you, the broth that comes out of here is full of collagen. You're going to have some really good bone broth. I can't say bone broth because there's no bones in it, but the broth that comes out of here is so jelly-like. It has to have collagen in it. It's wonderful. So if you're looking for some kind of broth to make soup or just to drink on your fasting days or to break a fast, that'll be some good broth for you once it gets done. So let me wash my hands and I'll be back. Okay, so we have it in here with a cup, 2 cups of water. I'm just going to sprinkle some salt. There is no science. Sometimes I don't even put salt. Today I'm going to put salt. So, salt it, water it, put it in your crock pot. Today I am home, so I'm just going to cook it on high for 6 hours. And I'm going to start it. So after the 6 hours, we will be back and I will show you where the magic happens. All right, so this beef cheek is done. It has been cooking for about 6 hours in the crock pot on high. And what I'm doing now is I am just separating the fat from the meat. You can clearly see when you start separating this what is fat and what is meat. I don't really know if it's a type of fat that people eat. I know that the fat that is within the meat is delicious, but the fat that is by itself, I don't know what people really do with it. Like I said earlier, I do have some saved that's in the freezer, but I don't really know what to do with it. I thought maybe I'd mix it with some roast beef or something and make some ground beef, but I don't really know. Now this, that's actually meat. That's good. Okay. So I thought that was going to be fat, but that is actually meat. So it is kind of time consuming to separate the fat from the meat, but it is totally worth it. So you're not going to get every little bit of fat out. What we're going to do when we get most of it out is then we're going to shred all of it together. And then I will show you what I'm going to do with it that will make it magically delicious. I do prefer to do the beef cheek on a day that I am off work, just because it is a little time consuming to get this part done with separating the fat from the meat. And I'm lazy when I get home from work. It's not something that I want to do on a weeknight when I'm working. I have frozen this beef cheek whole before and just stuffed it in the freezer in the package, and then thrown it in the crock pot from frozen. And at that point I will cook it on low for about 10 hours. Just throw it in there all day in the morning, and then in the afternoon when it is done I will shred it up, and then that will be perfect when it is time for supper for me to do the second part of how I cook this. So trust me, it is already good like this. It is delicious, but what I do with it next is what I love. Okay. I think we're pretty good. We got some little fat bits in there, but nothing too much that the next part of our process will not be able to handle. So let's move on. This is what our bowl of beef cheek looks like now. I know it does not look very appetizing, but don't let the looks fool you. If you are looking for a way to up your fat and up your collagen and get some delicious tender beef in, this is it. Not an expensive meat, and it is wonderful. So out of all of that, we only got a little bit of fat. So this package that we got from Sam's Club was a win. So you never really know until you take it out of the package what you're gonna get, because it's all vacuum sealed and we can't really see in there and determine. Sometimes I look at it and I think I'm getting one that really has a lot of meat and it has a little bit more fat, but this one was pretty good. Okay, so let's move on. So for the next part, we're going to crisp it up in a skillet, and I know it probably seems counterintuitive to throw some butter on some already fatty meat, but trust me, this butter makes it delicious. So I'm just going to use unsalted butter because I am going to throw some Redmond smoked salt on it, some extra. I already did salt it slightly when I threw it in the crock pot, but we are going to throw some extra on here. So we want our skillet pretty high. I'm putting it on medium high because what I want to do is get the meat to come to a crisp. I want to crisp it up, and it makes that meat pretty chewy and crispy at the same time. I can't really explain it better than that. It just is delicious, you guys. It is wonderful. So after we get that skillet heated on medium high, we are going to throw our meat in there. Okay, we are going to want it pretty darn crispy. So that looks good. It gets a really gummy texture that is really good. It's not burnt on here, it just gets, like I said, a really chewy, gummy texture that is to die for. So I'm just using Redmond hickory smoked salt. Okay, so whether you want to do it with cheese or without cheese, it is delicious all the same. But if you want to have a little bit of nachos, this is wonderful. Okay, so this is going to be done. We're just melting that cheese now, and then we will show you what it tastes like. All right, so this is how I normally cook it. I crisp it up. It does not look that appetizing, but I'm telling you, you guys, this is absolutely my favorite way. It is so gummy and chewy at the same time. It has a wonderful texture. I don't know if you can hear that. It is crunchy, chewy, and delicious. Let me try to get another crunchy part. You don't even miss the cheese when you eat it like this. I eat it without cheese. My husband eats it with cheese. But if you want to eat it with cheese and pork rinds, it makes a wonderful nacho. It is so good. Let me show you one little, oops. Let me show you one little one with the nacho. Show you one little one with the cheese. You can do sour cream on it. You could do salsa if you want to be a little ketovore-ish. But so good like this. So good. So good. Anyway, this is one of my favorite things to have I'll make it on a Sunday, have it at night, and as you can see, there's plenty left over for several meals, so I won't crisp it up all at once. I'll put it in the fridge, and tomorrow when we get home from work, it'll be ready, and you've seen how fast it was just to crisp up a plate of it, and then I'll have a fresh plate of meat. So it is one of the easiest things to cook, even though it takes a little bit of time to separate the meat and the fat. Totally worth it, totally delicious. If you are a type of person that has a hard time eating enough protein because of the fact that it is very filling, and maybe you've had bariatric surgery and you need a protein that is a softer protein, this is definitely going to be a way to up your protein because it's a very soft protein. So you would be able to eat way more of a beef cheek protein than you would be able to eat of a ribeye steak. So if you need to up your protein and get full easily, beef cheek could be the answer for you. So do not be afraid to try it. I know the name is intimidating, but it is delicious and super easy. Just some smoked salt and you have yourself a delicious meat. So I am going to close this out. My puppies are getting anxious. It's their time to eat, and I have ignored them because I'm feeding myself. So thanks for joining me again. Hope to see you here next time, and until then, stop eating processed foods.